Hello.
We are live.
Hey everybody. Who's on?
From
Give us a little something.
Orlando.
Hi. Okay, so here's the deal.
Somebody's on.
You're on. Somebody talk to us. Give us some hearts.
I can't ever
Give
see
us
on
the
my
little,
phone
yeah,
who's
do a
on.
little flippy flip.
How do you make it see so you can see who jumps on?
There it is. Hey Stacy.
There.
That's my girl.
Hi.
Okay, so
Tagged you.
as you know, hopefully you know, we are in Orlando right now at the John Maxwell certification. And if you don't know who John Maxwell is, we have some work to do because John Maxwell is the guru on leadership. Like, there is no one that is more published than him.
Yes,
They're-
the largest leadership training organization in the world
The world.
is John Maxwell.
Yeah, and we're hearing from him directly, which is also cool because you're going to hear from him at Leadership Retreat.
Yes.
So excited about that because it's going to be like a full circle sort of thing.
Big deal.
Hey, Laura. Okay, so we learned today what the glue that holds our businesses together. We learned what that is. And we also learned that values are the glue that holds any organization together, anything you're doing, anything in life. And John makes it very clear that he does not want us to be here unless we can hold these values in place.
Ooh,
He
yes.
finds them so valuable. He said, if you can't value what John Maxwell is doing in this team, then we don't want you on the team. And I feel pretty strongly about that myself. Like, if you can't get behind these values, I mean, you're probably going to fail in your business. Just being real. These values are like glue because he says it's not hard to make decisions when you know your values, and it gives you intentional living. It gives you an intentional place in your business. And something that I found was super important is that it's not only the glue to our business, but if you have no one on your team, not one single person, you need these leadership values, even if don't see yourself as a leader, because poor leaders that join this can give Plexus a bad name.
Yeah.
Because, and you'll see as we're reading through what these top 10 leadership character or values are, you're going to see, oh yeah, I've seen that in a person and it was not great.
He also talks about how your values are your compass. It's gonna, if you know what your values are, that will give you the right direction. Like, this is good for like a family value statement too, but they also are a ruler and also a magnet, because your values will attract like-minded people with similar values. And so I want quality people on my team, and if you want quality people on your team, you become more quality. You live more by high values and standards, and that will attract. That's it.
Yep.
So let's jump into it.
So the value number 1 is being value. We value people. That's the reason we do this.
They're everywhere.
You can't get away from them. So we value them. And actually the theme of our whole week here is people of value adding value. So in everything we're doing in John Maxwell, in Plexus, in life, our goal should be to add value to people, number 1. And I said, here's the deal. If you are people driven, you will never stop. Ever.
Yeah.
And in this business, we say find a why that makes you cry. Those are people-driven things. Those are people's testimonies that drive us to do more and be more and to get outside of our comfort zones. Because when it's not about you, 20%. When it's not about you, it's about other people, and that's what keeps us going. So
You're in this business to add value to others. If you are just wanting to make more money, you'll quit. But if you are in this business to add value to others, in adding value to others, you will make more money. You will
be
increase your
successful.
business, and you'll help more people. But the core of it has to be adding value. to others.
And then the number 2 is intentional living. So something that I wrote down is there is no specific formula that's going to make you good at this business. There are things that lots of people have done that are good at this business, but you can do all the things and do them without intention and be bad at it. So you have to live super intentionally in everything you do, in the decisions you make, in the people you interact with or don't interact with because they're a negative influence. Like, you have to be really intentional with the direction you're going, or you will be aimlessly sitting at average and not even realizing it.
They call average a cuss word here.
Yeah, you don't say the A word.
John said the A word because we don't want people to be average. We want people to be above average and intentional. I love, by the way, that we didn't really talk about this before we started videoing, so the notes she took is different from the notes I took.
I love that.
Because my notes on live intentionally was I wrote down most accept their life instead of lead their life. So most people just accept my life is what it is, don't ditto, instead of leading their life into what they want it to be. And so live intentionally. Lead your life to where and what you want it to be.
Yep. The number 3 is exceed expectations. We don't just go in and do the things. We exceed them. We do that one extra thing. We take that one extra step. We reach out to that one extra person. We read that one extra book or listen to one extra call, and we do that not grumbling, but just because that's what we do. We are people who exceed what's expected of us. And that's another thing about there not being a specific formula. If you come in thinking, tell me exactly what I have to do to be successful, you're probably not going to do well, because you have to just do extra and keep going.
And give people more than they ask for. And a great example of this is, what customer service are you providing the people that you already have right now? You know, when's the last time you wrote a handwritten thank you card to your customers or your ambassadors? Or when's the last time you went above and beyond to really check it? When's the last time you even followed up or checked in with your people who are already taking the products? Whether that's wholesale ambassadors or customers, sent them that voice message, really intentionally wanted to see them well, went above and beyond. That's what so many people say, even sending voice messages instead of sending just a cold message or a text message. Most people, we do this a lot of time in Plexus, but most people have never received a voice message. They didn't even know that was a feature. And so they are blown away when they're like, oh, well, that was neat. That was different. That felt really personal. You know, so exceed people's expectations.
And I have, what can I do that's more than what is asked? And I said at that point in the business, he said, oh, no, that was a different one.
Number 4.
Okay, so number 4, growth daily. So every day you're growing more. And the quote was, it's impossible to do better tomorrow unless you're doing your best today. You're always in growth mode.
Ooh, and I wrote down that the secret of your success is what you do daily. Don't be goal-oriented, be growth-oriented. And so if you're only goal-oriented, okay, then there's going to be a time when you reach your goal and you're going to be like, what's next? Well, you know, but if you are growth-oriented, you will be more focused on adding value to people, to continually learn, to never be in this position of I have arrived, but that leaders are learners, what I talk about all the time. I talk about that all the time because I learned that from John Maxwell. He talks about that all the time. And if the world's biggest leader in leadership development and leadership training talks about something all the time, I'm going to listen.
Bingo. Boom. Mic drop. Whoop. Okay, then number 5 is a positive attitude. That sounds pretty basic, right? We talk about attitude all the time. But he said it is the difference maker in your job. He said, think about all things being equal. You've got 2 people who are equally qualified for the job. Who are you going to hire? The person with the good attitude or the person with the bad attitude? You're going to hire the one with the good attitude every single time. And this business, it is so easy to fall in the trap of a bad attitude about things, about yourself, about the business, about whatever.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that. And he said you have to be very careful to not fall into those traps. And you have to nurture it daily to be watching yourself. And he said it's normal to occasionally have a bad attitude. We're not expecting perfection, but it's something that you're always working on.
Yeah. Attitude is a difference maker. And I know I talk about this team a lot and you guys a lot as difference makers. So my ears really perked up when he used the word difference makers. So I want to encourage you guys all, because you are difference makers. Attitude is a difference maker. And so if you want to be a difference maker, we got to make sure and check in our attitude, because attitude is a choice. So if you're just jumping on, we are doing John Maxwell's 10 values to live by as a person and a leader. So we're on number 6. Roll with us.
Number 6 I have is consistency. This one is like a knife to my heart, but I needed to hear every single word. And when he was doing this, he brought up examples from people who exemplified this value. And I was blown away by the things that they said and have done. And what was this lady? She had written 4 books, has 4 kids, all in a year? All in a year. Well, she didn't have the 4 kids, but she has 4 kids, and she wrote like 4 books in 1 year.
Yes.
And she also is a kickboxer or something along those lines. And she said every time she's like, feels like she can't go on and she can't keep being consistent every day, and she's like laying on the kitchen floor crying about it, she hears her coach in her head say, when you think you're out of it, you still have 20% left. When you think your body is completely done, when your energy is completely out, you still have 20% left. And you have to believe it. And you have to keep going, even though it's hard or it's uncomfortable often. You have to be consistent every single day.
Yes. Because mediocre, average people are inconsistent. What's the opposite of inconsistent? We don't want to be mediocre or average. What's the opposite?
Consistency!
Yes. Is that one of your values?
It says, I have also, you show up and you grow up. Like, when you show up, you grow up. And then, what else do I have? Consistency is not easy, period.
Consistency compounds. And so like with interest over time, it gets larger and larger and larger. So the longer that you are consistent, the bigger and bigger the effect.
Bingo. Number 7 is we equip people. And I mean, we definitely do that in Plexus. We equip people with something that's going to help their health. We equip people with skills. And it goes, I love this part, it goes from a me to a we. I'm not in this for myself. We're equipping people to do more and be more.
What are you doing to develop leaders? I always want you guys to ask that question. An example I often give, like toward the beginning of Leaders Retreat contest, I wasn't saying, okay, what's your goal for Leaders Retreat? How many points are you going to get for Leaders Retreat? I was asking my leaders, who from your team are you helping earn Leaders Retreat? You know, I'm not going to just say, hey, what's your goals for this month for ranks or whatever. I'm going to say, okay, well, who on your team are you helping develop as a leader? Who on your team are you helping rank up and do their goals? Always developing other leaders. And also always sharing your experience makes you a leader. Here's the difference. We've got some people who will read a book a day. They are always learning. But if you're not sharing what you're learning, if you're not rising up other leaders to learn as well, you may not be a leader.
Yes. I have also, only in developing others can we truly succeed. So we may think, oh, I'm doing great and I'm adding all these people, but you can't do this on your own. You cannot, period, 100%, cannot get to Emerald, cannot get to Sapphire or Diamond by just improving yourself. You have to work with others. And then, did you have another one on that one?
No.
Okay. Then number 8 is lead by example. Bingo, bango, bongo. This is a big one. Leadership is visual. You go with this one.
So one of my biggest advice as a leader, if say your team is stagnant or just not seeing a lot of growth, when I encourage people to do this, tell your team something that you did to work your business every day for 90 days. Okay? Lead by example. This seems such like a simple task, but the people who actually are implementing this and incorporating this are seeing action from their team. Okay? Because it's leading by example, it's showing action, it's giving your team ideas of things to do, it's increasing your influence and credibility as a leader because you're leading by example. You're showing them what you're doing, you're telling them what you're doing, you are leading by example.
One of the quotes that I loved the most, he said, don't be a travel agent that hasn't ever gone to these places before. He said, be a tour guide to these places.
With you.
Walk with them through the places you've been, through the hard stuff, through going backwards, through moving forward fast. Walk with them through this. And I also have the example of the person who came up. She was there for her person. She was available for them. And she also poured into this person. So pour into your team from your knowledge. Don't go somewhere that you've never gone before. Okay. Is that it for that one?
Yeah. I'm good
Okay.
with that one.
Number 9 is be a catalyst for transformation. So we are transformational leaders. We're not just trained. We are transformational. And we're not just giving people information. We're helping them with transformation. So I have influenced people in the way they think, act, speak. In such a way that makes a positive difference in their life specifically. We're not just giving them information, we're positively impacting their entire life. So the results of that is a positive difference in their entire life. And these people make a movement. When you can impact them in all of those different ways, that creates a movement, not just knowledge.
Yeah. And this is why we want you guys all to be leaders that are adding value to others, because again, we don't want you to just be a trained leader, just to know how to send a cold message or know how to post on Facebook, but a transformational leader. And I'll reiterate what she said again. Transformational leaders, they influence how people think, how they act, and how they speak. And so is your team thinking differently, acting differently, speaking differently? Are you transforming them in those areas? Are you leading by example in those areas and teaching them how to improve and add value to others in those areas to be a transformational leader?
Here's something I was just thinking about. We could tell you an exact script to cold message, but the transformational part would come in to help teach you how to be confident in speaking to someone. And then that's going to change the way you talk to them. Instead of oh, I would love for you to try this, to something confident, this could change your life. I would love for you to try this. Even in your tone. So that's a transformational thing, completely changes things. So help people define their lives, inspire them to be more and want more for themselves.
And the last one is faith, which actually tomorrow morning we're super excited. There's a church service, worship service that John Maxwell is leading. John Maxwell started his career actually as a pastor. Okay, so that's why you'll notice that a lot of these values line up with Christianity and line up with living a good and healthy life. And so we'll know more about that one tomorrow. But one thing I really wanted to point out again is this is all about values. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. And so it's so good to implement, just to sit for a hot minute and think about what your values are as a leader. What are you expressing to your team as the values of your team? And I also want to point out, we just gave you the highlights, the kicker, the high points, when we actually learned this morning in our speaker training, an effective communication isn't just the highlights and the PowerPoints. But we only had 10 minutes, okay? But John Maxwell teaches you how to tell stories and connect with people through stories and examples. So actually what he did today, as each one of these points, this 10 value, each one, he talked about it, and then he brought up a team member to share a personal story that expressed, one was explaining how she valued people. How she actually got she met this janitor, and they connected, and they set up a dinner meeting, and then just right after that she actually met the CEO of this huge corporation that she was trying to get a job with, and they invited her to dinner that evening. But her value, since she valued people, she had previously made plans to have dinner with this janitor, and she wanted to hold true to her value, to valuing people. She valued people, so she had to decline this huge dinner that could have gave her this huge job that she was really, really wanting. Okay, and it talks about the next day when the CEO actually found out why she canceled. He immediately gave her the position without even hearing her proposal. So sometimes when you keep true to your values, it's still going to benefit you. But the big thing is, even if it doesn't benefit you in the end, and you have no regrets because you stuck to your values.
Yep. We teach what we know, but we live out what we are. And these values make us what we are. And they make us good people, and they make us even better plexus ambassadors. Even if you have no one on your team, if you can live these values, you are a leader. Like, you are showing that to people every day. And I think that is powerful. We have such an opportunity to completely transform people's lives just by having these products in our hands to begin with. Imagine what we can do when we apply all of these values and have amazing products. It's huge. It's big. Like, if I think about it too long, I'll cry. Like, there's a lot we can do, and it's amazing.
So, anyways, just a highlight of our day. Amber Stiles Emberson is with us as well. She's in another hotel room. We are jam-packed. I mean, notes, pages. More videos to come. But the biggest thing is start with today. I made a video on my personal page today about leadership may seem overwhelming. 10 pages. Start with 10 pages tonight before you go to bed, to work on improving yourself, because leadership is influence. And so the more you can increase your influence, whether that's learning about a topic, becoming more confident, becoming more self-aware, anything you can do to increase your influence will increase your leadership. So,
and I think I just had another thought. Increasing your influence means getting a life. Get a life, people. And I mean, like, live these values out, and don't just live for the next sell, for the next telling of people about plexus. Get a life, and people are going to be drawn to you and your leadership and how interesting you are and what you're doing. People follow you and flock to leaders. Be that person, and people will come. Yeah. They will come to you.
I want to do one quick thing, because why not? We're here. Okay, so we're here networking, and we're meeting a lot of people. So I want to encourage you. This is like a little challenge. This isn't really... Well, okay, is have an elevator speech. And what do we mean by elevator speech? Is when you can start a conversation. When you say, "Hi, my name is Jessica. What do you do?" They will tell you what they do, and they usually ask you, "Well, what do you do?" Okay, so I could say, "Oh, I'm a multi-level marketer." They will run away scared. They're not intrigued. They do not want to learn more. So we've been talking together about, like, what's the best things we can say to intrigue people to be interested in what we do. And so we were like thinking about things, and I immediately go into, well, I actually work from home, and I'm making over $1 million from home, and but I immediately go into, well, I work from home, and I help people with blood sugar stabilization, reducing inflammation, and with gut health, which actually is the root of almost every disease. It helped, and then I immediately quickly go into, it helped my son with his eczema and my husband with his awful IBS. Okay? Because I'm not going to say, I sell supplements. Okay.
This reminds me of something that Paul Martinelli said. He said, so when people ask you, so what do you do? He said, sure, you can riff that. You can come up with something off the top of your head and like that, like, I sell supplements. Or you can be prepared with what you do. So, like, what is my desired outcome? If you practice those ahead of time, if my outcome is to share, if my outcome is to coach, if my outcome is to whatever, if you define that before you go in there, you'll have way better results than just riff results.
Totally.
And something else, the game that we played a leadership game tonight, and one of the questions they asked us was, what is something you've done today that you failed at? And I was like, oh, that's a good question, because if I can't give an answer, I've probably not done enough in that day. If I can't say that I've tried and done something new and failed at it and gotten better from it, then I'm probably not pushing myself enough. And mine was practicing my elevator speech with people of high influence. I mean, we're in the room with people, like, I have met more people from different countries.
CEOs of corporations.
Like,
this is a great networking place.
I met the customs. He's the customs director for DHL, the packing place, for all of Panama, the whole country, Panama. Like, that's nuts. Yeah. Anyway, so
be prepared.
Be prepared.
That makes the huge difference. You have 10 seconds to make an impact on somebody. Oh, but really, when you said failure, you can't look at failure as failure. You always have to look at failures as a learning experience to do better next time.
Failing forward.
Be prepared with your elevator speech. To think about that tonight. Stop. And then go ask somebody tomorrow at the grocery store, what do you do? and then they're going to ask you what you do, and then you're going to have an excellent answer that's going to make them want to know more.
You're going to impress the socks
Because we can't help people. I mean, I can say, I sell supplements, and that poor person could be suffering from IBS, digestive issues, celiac disease, all these things, but I'm like, I sell supplements, and then they never know more. But if I immediately tell them, I just went blank. I need to prepare more.
If I tell them that I
sleep.
have supplements that help with gut health and blood
but
sugar
we help with blood sugar stabilization, reducing inflammation, and helping improve gut health, which is the root of almost every disease, and then instantly tell my story about eczema, IBS. They're like, oh, I did that today at my table. 3 people had their children, 3 of them, with awful eczema. 3 of them. If I wouldn't have shared that story, we'd have never connected that way. We gotta go. Okay, thanks
Bye,
for hanging in there with us.
Go back and
Your
rewatch
values, your elevator speech, work on that.
The glue to your business.
And join the John Maxwell team someday.
Do it.